Hi, I'm Marco Bonomo, and this is SEO in 2023.
Marco, what's your number one SEO tip for 2023?
Hi, David. My tip for next year is to focus very much on content and content strategy. So, in very short terms, my best recommendation is to make sure that all the content you have on the website is unique. So it's not just an ultimate guide you provide over a specific topic, but it's really, really rich in, for example, like extra things you want to add to the conversation. For example, like an interview with a specialist, some data about, visualize some data, some charts, add some like unique thoughts to the conversation with the users. So make also sure that the content is not made for bots, but it's specifically made for users.
Okay, so is that the main way that your content strategy has changed over the last few years? Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you focused more on pleasing Google's algorithms, but nowadays you're focusing on pleasing users?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that the bar is getting higher and higher. So Google obviously is getting smarter at understanding how granular a topic can be. And obviously we need to adapt. So content is what we know it's one of the main pillars of SEO. So we need to make sure that when we write the most comprehensive, simple to understand, and easy to read for most of the users.
So you work for a large organization. How do you go about bringing other stakeholders into play and as part of the discussion to incorporate them in the content strategy, to inform them of your SEO desires and come up with a content marketing strategy that appeals to all?
So we work strictly with we got a department just for PR. So obviously you need to work on trends. For example, we got, what's the future of vaping? What's the future of tobacco? And we want to work on specific data. We want to work show what's the current trends, what's kind of, because obviously we sell in different markets. So each market is different. So we want to take, we got different shades obviously of same topic, but different market has got different, it has to be unique, has to be really direct to the specific user that is going to use the specific content. So I would say more like a very much PR efforts. And at the same time, I would say we're working, since we're also like a manufacturer, we produce very specific items. We got also customer service. So to limit the amount of people calling, for example, the customer service, for example, my device is not working, my device is not cleaning properly. We want to make sure that we update specific FAQs for all the kind of products we sell, because this is like offloading the amounts of efforts like people calling the customer service. So it's optimizing really resources and providing better service for the end user.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a great idea to talk to customer service and to get kind of common queries or issues from there and trying to create content to solve that. The challenge that I found when I worked for large organizations is you often had to plan a long time ahead of schedule. You had to get other people on board, perhaps even legal departments as well. And that meant that you had to plan the content that you were going to publish several months ahead. So how do you determine trends that perhaps aren't even popular yet, but are likely to be popular in a few months' time?
It's a bit of a tricky question, I would say. Since we are like a large organizations, so we serve more than 70 markets at the moment, we try to split in waves. So I don't know, for example, like each year you might have 6 or 8 waves of contents. So it's quite difficult to get to know what is going to happen in 2023, 2024, 2025. But I would say the core point is that we know what's the primary trend. So for example, in my particular case that, vaping is a growing market, disposable vape is a growing market, nicotine pouches is a growing market. So, and we know where the users are moving, the kind of how they interact with devices, how they interact, how the legal framework is changing over time. So there is a lot going on. The point is that you need to have a strategy which tries to comprehend all these little shades. And you need to, obviously not everything is going to be up to date once you're going to publish in 6 months, in 1 year, 1 year and a half. But at least you try to follow the trend and try to anticipate what will be the needs of the users and what is going to, to be up to date in 1 year or 2 years.
You mentioned that you talk to customer service, and one area that you can actually focus on with customer service is commonly asked questions, FAQs, frequently asked questions. So how do you go about making a success of publishing FAQs on a site nowadays? Is it important, for instance, to publish all the content on one page, multiple pages? Is there a certain format that appeals to search engine nowadays?
So, for example, you can do both ways. You can have like single pages talking about a specific FAQ, or you can have like a kind of FAQ category pages, for example, one for a dedicated pillar of your contents. The risk of having a singular page for each FAQ is that Google is not to consider that particular FAQ worth enough, because obviously if you add a page with like a couple of lines of contents, is it worth crawling this page? Is it worth indexing? Put yourself in the shoes of Google. But if you create like a proper category page and you try to interlink one, you tend to develop, to explain and put things in a very, very simple ways. You can link all the categories together. You can improve internal linking. And I would say, FAQ is probably, if you are a manufacturer and if you selling physical products, or even like software, be really focused on FAQs is what is going to make life easier for end users. So if you never, work very much on FAQs, this is probably the right moment to plan and improve the existing section or create a new one.
So if you're a business that has a relatively short list of FAQs, maybe 10 FAQs, perhaps just a paragraph or so for each answer, and you've decided to just use one page, is it just as easy to get each answer ranked, or perhaps even easier to get each answer ranked if you're having everything on one page as opposed to everything on an individual page?
Yeah, personally, I do believe that it's probably easier to create like a single page, like a category page for FAQs. Also for the sake of maintaining the structured data, because it's is an additional layer to the content you publish on the page. So from my perspective, like create categories instead of like single pages is probably preferable at this stage. Also, we don't have to forget that publishing FAQs and having the structured data that reach snippets is, you might at the end of the day lose traffic, because the FAQs published on Google are so good that the user just really on the SERP and not clicking on the results. So this one of the is a trade-off. So you provide better content for the user, but you might have less clicks. So you need to consider this might be a possibility.
Okay. And would you classify it as an SEO win by providing the answer to Google to the user directly on the SERP without them having to visit your website?
I would say yes, because at the end of the day, if you work like in an e-commerce, what matters is that you have happy customers. The customer keep buying from you. And even if you got a bit less clicks, even if you got decent impressions on Search Console, but you got less clicks, what matters at the end of the day is that how you serve the end user. Did you make a good job? That's the end goal of Google as well.
One thing that we had in 2022 was the helpful content update from Google. How do FAQs fit into that?
Well, I think it's quite interesting because I think we need to try not to simply copy and paste the contents from for example, you're reselling a device, a product, and not try to copy and paste the product from the description, the specs from manufacturer. Because Google, basically, what they thought is that what kind of additional value do you provide to the end user? Why we should consider your content where we got at the same time the original copy from the manufacturer. And so you need to provide, for example, if you're doing reviews, what is the methodology you provided in a product reviews, these kind of things. So FAQs since they are very, very particular, very niche, but at the same time, very useful for a user. They need to be like highly targeted. They need to be really, really provide a specific answer. They need to be really useful.
So you talked earlier on about focusing in on the user this year. You also talked just a second ago about providing additional value. Surely if we're focusing on the user, then it doesn't really matter where we provide them that value. It could be on social media, it could be on review sites. Is that a win for SEO as well? And how does Google perhaps treat your brand being found and the perception of your brand on third-party websites?
Well, probably in the future, my personal view is that Google might, I don't know, like 5 years, 10 years, they're going to have an understanding about, is this a good brand? Is this, what kind of customer service this particular brand is providing to the user? Because you got the wow factor, obviously, when you launch a product, when you launch something on social media, because it has to be big. And from a point of view of a manufacturer, something that is creating a product has to be big. But how good is that particular brand at keeping the promises? And like listening to social media, providing for the SEO part, providing really good support, try to help at the end of the day the user, your final customer. I think probably not 2023, but probably a bit more far in the future, Google is going to be able to provide this kind of bird's eye view. So try to figure out, is this device worth buying? Not just, you got a perfectly skilled SEO, which is creating the most rankable contents, but it's probably going to be a bigger view, like an overview. Is this worth buying? Is this good company? Do they provide good customer service and these kind of things?
So it sounds like the value of SEO is becoming more intangible. It's becoming harder and harder to actually measure the ROI of SEO. What are your thoughts on that? How do you prove the value of what you're doing internally?
Well, I would say still this year, definitely for next year, for the next few years, the value of SEO is more try to drive traffic to the web. Is more like the most you got the biggest and the most certified ROI in the business. If you consider that Google at the end of the day is just an advertising company, so SEO definitely is going to shrink a bit over time. We already saw that. But also at the same time, you got Google providing FAQs didn't exist a few years ago. People also ask, did exist a few years ago? But definitely, I'm really convinced that it's still going to be part of the bigger picture. So just define SEO as a pillar in the overall strategy. It's not going to be more difficult, but has to be more integrated with all the other channels from my point of view.
SEO is going to shrink. Wow. I remember, I think back in about 2007, reading the first ever SEO is dead blog post. Are we actually ever get to that stage?
They say it every year.
Yeah. Is it going to happen?
Well, eventually, no, I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, Google is relying on free, which are not really free. People looking at the specific query results. So is a freemium, we'll say, because at the end of the day, you're selling the kind of, there are bids on, Google pay-per-click, YouTube is pretty much the same. There is an Amazonification of Google, and it's an irreversible trend. We cannot fight. We just need to adapt, because Amazon is getting much, much more aggressive. It's taking over all the e-commerce, Walmart in America, Shopify, Amazon. So Google, to survive and to expand, to try to maintain the position, they need to adapt. So we need to adapt to what Google is providing as a service.
The word of the day, dear listener, is Amazonification. I love it. Marco, you've shared what SEO should be doing in 2023. So now let's talk about what SEO shouldn't be doing. What's something that's seductive in terms of time, but ultimately counterproductive? Something that SEO shouldn't be doing in 2023.
Well, personally, as a reader, I would love not to see content as flashy and useless as we saw till now. For example, if you do product reviews, if you provide this product is going to features that this product is going to have when it's going to be released. So clickbait, hopefully we're going to see the end of clickbait. content just made for the sake of creating content. So I know personally like copywriters, and if a copywriter is forced to create a specific article within that specific time frame, talking about the same old topic, and then the end of the day is going to be like pretty much the same value, which is going to be very low. So I really hope that the Google updates they're going to provide a bit of clarity. For example, also like how intrusive the ads are on publishers. Obviously, publishers, they need to survive. They need to make money. So as it is a business, they need to have a business model. But if you read the contents and you got like 3, 4, 5 ads, a video, like an audio stream or something, before you get to the actual contents, it's probably not worth reading. This is also like why the rise of ad blockers and all the rise of how to block all the trackers we got on the internet. So we're going to see more on this side, I think.
Marco Bonomo is Global SEO Operations Lead at Philip Morris International. You can find him over at marcobonomo.co.uk. Marco, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2023.
Thanks for having me.
Get your copy of SEO in 2023, the book, over at SEOin2023.com.